Thank you, Anthony and Colin, and all those involved in the legacy of a Story of Women exhibition. And thank you for your generous invitation to be part of this photographic exhibition. From the time I was a small child, I felt quite uncomfortable having my photograph taken. So accepting this invitation was initially very challenging. However, I have come to consider that this photograph and what it represents is not just about me. This portrait represents the extraordinary number of educators who have enriched the work that I have been involved in, particularly related to the educational project of Reggio Emilia in northern Italy, but also with the work I was engaged with in the International Baccalaureate. I lived in Canada with my husband and children for several years, and just before we returned, I attended an early childhood conference where a speaker from the UK made the comment, "You early childhood educators, you let the children bud, but you never let them flower." It is a statement that has stayed with me for a very long time. But it was a time when early childhood was strongly influenced worldwide by developmentally appropriate practice. I remember this remark, and I considered it for a long while. When I returned to Australia, I was fortunate to be offered a position in inner city Melbourne with a group of children who were to attend 9 a.m. to 3 and who represented wide and diverse social and economic backgrounds. I was hopeful that this group of children would be able to flourish in their early years' life and learning. And there are some interesting stories that go with that experience. In 1990, as a lecturer in early childhood education at Melbourne University, I had the opportunity to attend a conference in the United States. And one morning, I found little interest to me in the conference program. My strong interest in multicultural education was the catalyst for me choosing to attend a session about education in Italy. I anticipated that I might need to leave the session early, but instead, I found myself moving further and further to the edge of my seat as I listened to educators from Reggio Emilia, Italy, as they shared the flowering child, the child I had been searching for. The next year, I attended the first American study tour to Reggio Emilia, and I had the privilege to sit at the feet of Loris Malaguzzi, the inspirational leader of Reggio Emilia's educational approach to early childhood education, and to listen firsthand to his now well-known question, "What is your image of the child?" I soon realised that I only had an impoverished response to this question. So what could this invitation and challenge of a small socialist country in Italy possibly mean for countries such as Australia? I spent time discussing this challenge with another wonderful educator in Reggio Emilia, Sergio Spaggiari, and his response, "You need the children." I was teaching at the university and I didn't have the children, but the remarkable resources that became available were the many early childhood educators from across Australia willing to be risk takers in their educational practices and to accept sometimes difficult criticism by others, all in their pursuit for a reimagined education for young children, for a different image of the child, and for a reimagined way of considering the role of teacher-educator. Many of you here today will be those risk takers, and I want to particularly acknowledge the support of Janet Robertson and Mary Featherstone, who were so important in the early days of this adventure with Reggio Emilia. They are colleagues with whom I travelled the early years in this space, in friendship and professionality. I also acknowledge the wonderful and incredibly hard-working volunteer committee board and members of the Reggio Emilia Australia Information Exchange, who have dedicated so many years to progressing Malaguzzi's image of the child as both capable and competent. So my portrait in this exhibition honours, acknowledges and represents all those who work, live and learn with children, and all those who have and continue to share their practice and professional thinking, so the rights of children for a just and civil society, for an education that is meaningful, contextual and authentic, can be realised. It is my hope that in this portrait, every one of you can see yourselves. My very best wishes to Anthony and Colin and all who make a conference like this possible, and my very best wishes for a wonderful conference together. Thank you all. Thank you.
What an honour to have Jan with us today. Please thank her again, everybody.